So this message is out to all the co-authors who are contributing to the Applied Artificial and Deep Learning book. We've got two editors on here, both Biplov and myself, and we wanted to reach out to you and share an early message on sort of designing and thinking about your chapter walkthrough. Again, our goal of this book is to really reach practitioners. So these are folks coming in with backgrounds in maybe forestry or agriculture or socioeconomic data as social scientists, and they're wanting to leverage, they probably have experience in machine learning and now wanting to dip more into deep learning and moving more towards foundational models. Obviously, that's big jumps there. So our idea is to really have this book as those stepping stones, and every chapter is very different, right? So we've left it open to the author teams to sort of construct that narrative as they so choose around their use case and around their problem set, which is fantastic. And we want these workflows, or these walkthroughs, I should say, these video walkthroughs, to have sort of a similar feel in some sense. So this could be a good convergence across the chapters. And what we're trying to stress here in this early prelude, before we just go through a tutorial and do the walkthrough, and you can have a reference point to that, is that we really want to sort of blend in sort of the why. These chapters are really important. So what's the applied use case? How does it matter in the real world? And what access point folks might have. So if you're an agronomist and you're working on crop yields in the Midwest, really sort of relate the value of that information to those end users, and also talk about maybe the avenues that someone might have to take their current methodologies and bring these new approaches in to plus up their work. So kind of the contextual things of why this chapter is really important. So that's the first element. And the second element is really around how this methodology is really sort of different and novel relative to sort of the standard methodology. So even if it's just statistical or just a classical machine learning, if you're applying this new deep learning method, what's the value of it relative to those? And maybe that's clear in the text, but this could be a great place as you're walking through the notebook. You can sort of elaborate on those. And I think just highlighting those two elements of like the why of the use case and the novel aspect of the workflow is going to be really important to really distinguish why someone would go through the whole workflow, and also contextualize the entire effort. So we just wanted to make that point on the outset that I think that's sort of our major goals of what we want to help inform these walkthroughs. And Biplov, if you've got any other thoughts on making these really sort of targeted on the video walkthrough.
One thing I'd like to add is you could also have sort of a slide that you could switch back and forth with the notebook. What we're seeing here is a slide that we have, but we'll also switch back and forth between slides and the notebook wherever it makes sense.
Yeah, and as you're mentioning, something else came to the top of my mind is if there's any parts of your notebook that are, say, technically challenging, where there might be some steps that are happening, a series of steps that are all consolidated down, that might be a good place to elaborate. Thinking about like where a control file might be set and how you could actually access that. In the notebook, you just hit the button and it goes. So you might want to elaborate on that at those individual inflection points. So use this space, I think, to sort of, you don't have to speak to every code cell or anything like that, but if there's a especially sort of complicated part that is all consolidated in the code, this might be a good place to sort of talk about it in greater detail. I think those technical notes might help too.
Yeah.
Well, great. I think that'll wrap up our sort of overview or sort of a guide for the videos, and then we can just move right into our actual video walkthrough.